I would argue the hardest part about selling online isn't setting up your shop. It isn't listing your products. I would argue it's not even creating your designs. It's knowing what the problems are when they happen and then what you could do to fix it. Because look, like anything worth doing in life, there's always gonna be a few bumps in the road, but it's in those moments where having a few tricks up your sleeve is really useful so that you can at least see yourself a path forward. And today, I'm joined by two sellers and experts who are definitely no strangers to some of the issues that you might be going through. Cassiy Johnson is an Etsy seller and an educator, and Megan Heckman is a Shopify expert and a growth strategist. And together, these two ladies have been working diligently over the last few weeks, trying to come up with some solutions to some common problems that you might be experiencing no matter which platform you're selling on. And we're really excited to show you what they came up with. So ladies, welcome to Amplified.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you. So glad to be here.
What are some of the things that you think sellers are going to run into in terms of issues?
Yeah, we actually created a whole presentation for that, believe it or not. So, we're going to be talking about the reasons why that you might not be getting sales in your store. And this is something we could probably talk about for an entire hour, but we did try to condense it down to the biggest drivers on why you're not getting sales in your business so that you can leave this presentation with some actionable takeaways of what you can do to start moving the needle in your business, whether you sell on Etsy or you sell on Shopify. A lot of the reasons are exactly the same across all the different platforms. I hope that you get so much out of today's presentation. And we're going to be going over two different scenarios. So whether you are getting no views and no sales, or whether you're getting views but no sales. So those are the two things we'll be going over. And there, again, is a couple different reasons why you might not be getting sales. The biggest culprit that we kind of came together and decided could be your designs and your mockups. But we're also going to go over some of the other really important things like testing, building trust, and pricing.
And before we kick everything off, I think it's really important to let those viewers know, like maybe you've never made your first sale online, or maybe you're just not getting consistent sales yet. We've all been there and we understand exactly how you feel. But just know today we're gonna go through some really good stuff so that you have actionable takeaways. And just know that you're not alone as you're going through this. Now, to kick things off, I think we all have this expectation of our print-on-demand journey. We think, okay, I'm gonna, post some designs, get them on either Etsy, Shopify, whatever marketplace you're selling on, and we kind of think it's gonna be this easy path to making money. And then we kind of get into the thick of things. And the reality is we, post our design and, we come over these little challenges along the way. I like to think back to my first store. I look at it and I can look at it as a failure. And instead I look at it as those were some great learning opportunities. Because going through all the motions of learning how to design, how to pick a niche, all of those things, I was able to leave the things that I did wrong in the past and take all the things that went right and put that into the next store and moving forward. So I think it's important to share that as well. Now, the first scenario that we're going to discuss is you aren't getting any sales yet or views. So no one's clicking on your ad, no one's clicking on your listing. And the biggest culprit for that is typically your research and your designs. So we're gonna go through all of that now. Now, good designs start with good research. Good research is going to help us design faster. It's going to allow us to spot what's already working in the market. And it's also going to allow us to understand our customers and really what they're already looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've all been there. So you are not alone in not getting sales right now. So let's talk about some of the ways that you can actually do that research, because we can tell you to do research all day long, but let's talk about what that might actually look like in practice as a beginner to make sure that you're doing the things that you need to understand what actually sells online so that you can make the most money for the amount of time that you're putting in. And so, this is what the process really looks like. You do your research, you get inspiration, and you make your new designs. And so what that might actually look like is spending 20 minutes a day actually researching on Etsy or wherever you're selling and looking at the best-selling designs. So you can use something like Everbee to do this research. You can just sort through the Etsy search results and look for things like bestseller badges or sold 17 times in the last 24 hours. And just do 20 minutes a day paying attention to the small things that make up great designs. So you might come up with something like this that we're showing here. And I want you to pay attention to what kind of colors are people using in their designs? What types of fonts do you keep seeing over and over again? And what types of design layouts are you seeing? Because you can actually start paying attention to these and breaking designs down into their smaller parts and then combining them in new and unique ways to create something new and unique, but that's based on research. Because if you just make designs that come up out of your own mind, you could magically be an amazing designer, but I know I wasn't. Meg probably wasn't either. And so that really comes from research. But it's important not to copy, because one of the biggest mistakes that we see new sellers making is actually copying the best sellers more than they think they are. And so we wanted to go through a few examples of what that actually looks like. Because when you're adding value, what you want to do is take 2 to 3 things you've seen before and combine it in a new and unique way. So I put this design example together. I would tell Talish that I like to look at greeting cards for inspiration. And so here's a perfect example of that. Look at you turning 25 twice. And then here's a design that sells really well on Etsy. Sorry, I'm late. I was dilly-dallying. And so if I was designing for a 50-year-old birthday shirt, then I might come up with something like, sorry, I'm late. I've turned 25 twice. It's a new saying no one's ever seen before, but it's based on a few things that are proven to sell on Etsy. And so let's take a look at what it actually looks like to copy, though, because I think when you are new, you don't know exactly what that looks like. So let's go through some comparisons. Let's say this is the original design that you saw as a bestseller on Etsy. If you were selling on Etsy this summer, you might have seen this adorable bestseller, 2 cute little ghosts by a campfire. So let's go to the next one, where here you can see these 2 are what I would say is copying. Sure, it's not an exact pixel for pixel copy. You didn't take a screenshot of it and put it on your shirt, but this is what I would consider copying. So taking a look at what the kind of adding value versions would actually be, I like to say that there's 3 different levels to adding value. So level 1 is going to look like this kind of, where you add the minimum amount of value. So it's some kind of spin on the original at least. So this one here, they did geese instead of ghosts. And then level 2, your level 2 amount of value added, they added words. So something like Camp Spooky, this is a perfect example. It looks completely different than the original, but it's based on the same concept. And then going up to level 3, which is what I hope you all are able to create, is you take the base idea of the design, and that is that these ghosts are doing summer-themed activities, but they're doing different activities. And this is where you can really carve out a spot in the market. You're taking what's learning, what's working, and then you're adding your own kind of unique creative spin on it.
Awesome. And now the second design tip that we're going to share with you is connecting emotionally with your buyers. Now, the question that we want to ask ourselves is, are we actually trying to connect with our audience, or are we simply just trying to sell to them? And there is a difference. Now, most customers buy based off of emotion and not logic, which is kind of a twist, because when we're sitting down to make designs, I think we almost think about it logically. So we kind of want to take a step back and put ourselves in the buyer's shoes and really try to think, how could I emotionally strike a chord with this customer? And by doing this, we're able to connect with our niche and then convert more sales. Now, I'm going to go through an example where we would try to determine which design is invoking more emotion. Now, the design on the left is a great design. There's nothing aesthetically wrong with it. It's a beautiful design. And then we have the design on the right, also very nice to look at, but there's a few key details in there that tend to connect more with this buyer. As you can see, we have the deep dive tours. We also have expect pressure in your ears, and then nose pinch enthusiast. So if you're somebody who's into scuba diving, you've had these pain points. You know, as you're going farther down into the ocean, the pressure's in your ear, you squeeze your nose, and you're able to relieve that. So that is emotionally going to connect with somebody in that niche a lot better than the design on the left. Now, design tip number 3 is designing for our products. Now, great designs follow product best practices. So it's really important to look at your designs and determine, hey, am I actually creating designs that work for the product I'm trying to sell? Whether it's t-shirts, mugs, posters, you name it. Now, here's an example that I like to look at. This is the same concept. It's a kitty being abducted by a UFO. So same concept across 3 different products. And and you're gonna notice that the sticker has a very cartoon-like style and look, which is very common on a lot of popular sticker designs on Etsy, on other marketplaces, versus the t-shirt's going to have more of a vintage, retro type of style, which is also common on other graphic t-shirts. So starting to follow those best practices. And the poster is a very realistic looking cat being abducted by a UFO. It would maybe look a little silly on, a t-shirt, but it works great on a poster, and I could totally see it like being in somebody's office as they're working.
Definitely. I don't know what this bundle is, but I want it. I want all of it.
So the next thing that we're going to talk about is mockups, because mockups help to add context to our designs and provide clarity for our buyers. Now, mockup tip number 1 typically leans a little bit more towards the Shopify side of things. We want to be using a niche-specific, eye-catching mockup, because as we are advertising on Facebook, we want to stop somebody's scroll. And when we're already kind of connecting with our niche in the mockup and then the design is matching, it just helps to kind of get something to click with our buyers. Now, here's an example of a really solid mockup versus one that maybe is causing confusion for our buyers. The one on the left, we have the T-Rex fishing, but at the same time, it's surrounded by baseball objects. So you kind of look at it and go, who is this for? Like, is it for baseball players? Is it for, fishermen? I'm not quite sure. Versus our mock-up on the right, we can see we have the fishing pole, we have the lures. This is a shirt that is designed for fishermen.
And when it comes to selling on Etsy, it is slightly different. You don't need to use niche-specific mockups quite as much because Etsy is a really aesthetic platform. You really need to have gorgeous photos, especially for clothing. You want someone to imagine how cute they're going to look wearing your item, So what you'll need to do is, just like we were talking about with the research earlier, is take some time for your product and take a look at all the best sellers and understand what types of mockups really work well. Is it folded mockups? Like the comfort color shirts folded sitting on a table? Or is it something like a model mock-up with phone cases? Is it something like these ones? Takes the time to really understand what sells well with which types of mockups. You can either purchase those same ones right on Etsy, or you can get ones that have a similar vibe. But again, with Etsy, it's all about the aesthetic. But there are a few mistakes that sellers make with mockups that I wanted to kind of go over and show you as well. And mockup mistake number 1 is you're zoomed too far out or too far in on Etsy, because you have to understand that they are typing something in on Etsy like teacher, and then they're sorting through the search results, looking at you next to all your competitors. And so just like Meg was talking about, it has to stop the scroll. If you're zoomed too far out, they're not going to be able to read it. It's not going to catch their attention. But if you're zoomed too far in, they might not even understand what the product is and how cute they might look wearing your gorgeous t-shirt. And so then the next one, I'll show you what some good examples are. So these 4 are great examples of really trending, popular style mockups on Etsy, and then designs that are big and bold and easy to read that are going to stop someone from scrolling when they're searching on the Etsy platform.
Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is testing. And we want to be asking ourselves the question, are we truly testing enough? Now, when I like to think about testing, I like to think it's simply a math problem. So we're going to go through an example. We have 2 friends that decide to start print-on-demand stores on the same day. One friend creates 20 designs over the next 30 days as they're getting their store ready to go. Now, friend number 2 creates 100 designs over the same period of time. Now, just thinking about that as statistics and a math equation, who do we think is more likely to find some winning designs in their batch that they created? Someone who's designed 20 or one who's designed 100? Now, friend 2 has a 5 times higher chance and is learning at a 5x speed because they were able to build their design skill and research the market and truly find what people are actually interested in. And when you're finding multiple, best sellers or multiple winners in your batches, you're going to be able to drive more sales to your store. Now, it's important when we are testing that we are looking at the data, whether it's Etsy or Shopify. It's important to, look and see which, listings or ads are getting those clicks. And when we're seeing the ones that are getting those clicks frequently, we can then double down on those designs because something about it is catching that buyer's attention. So we want to go back to the drawing board and we want to iterate off of those designs and then test them again and again. And it's repeating this cycle over and over again that we are able to find more winners and get more consistent sales. Now, scenario 2 that we're going to discuss is you're getting views, so people like what they're seeing, but for some reason, they're just not converting. They're not buying from you. Now, this first part, the first most important part, sorry about that, is building trust with our customers starts from the very beginning. And on Shopify, a lot of times this starts from the ad. So I'm gonna go through an example where we go through a really clear and trustworthy funnel. As you can see, we have the ad on the left-hand side, and it's a spring collection ad. We have a spring-like design. The mock-up is spring-like, and when they're clicking on that ad, they are landing on a spring collection page. And our compare at price matches, the 35% off in the ad. So this is a really clear funnel. The message is straight across to our buyer. Versus this funnel is a little confusing. We're seeing a winter t-shirt sale with a very spring summer-like design. And then when they're clicking that ad, they're landing on a summer sale collection page. So the buyer's stopping and going, I'm so confused at this point. Is this company actually legit? And it makes them question you as a brand owner. So this is something that's really important to have clear messaging throughout every single step so that, our buyers are seeing that we are consistent with what we are saying and what they're going to get at the end of the day.
Yeah, super, super important. And so moving into the next part of building trust with your customers and making sure that you are, putting your focus on the things that are going to drive sales in your business, we did want to talk about pricing in this section, but you will notice that we talked about this last. A lot of new sellers think immediately, okay, I'm not getting sales, it must be my pricing. And they lower it and lower it and lower it into the ground when that may or may not actually be the issue. So I think there is a mindset shift that needs to happen. That pricing is important, but if you're missing the mark on any of the things that myself and Meg talked about in this presentation, then you're not going to get sales no matter what the price is. You could try and sell your shirt for $5. If you didn't add value with your design, if you're not able to easily read it and understand it from the thumbnail, then no one's going to click it in the first place. And if no one clicks it, no one's going to buy it again, no matter what the price is. But not to say price isn't important in some way. So I do recommend, especially on Etsy, to do some research on what your competitors are pricing their items at so you can really understand what kind of range you should be in. But you never need to be the lowest price out there. But when you are selling on Etsy, you might see things like shirts for sale for $6.58, and you're asking yourself, how are they able to do this? It's actually something called a loss leader. They're not actually selling their shirts for that. This is a tactic that you yourself can use in your listings as well, where you make the least expensive item in your listing that price. You can see here when you click the drop down on Etsy, only the baby onesie in 12 months to 18 month size is the $6.59. Everything else is actually much more expensive. And so this is a popular tactic to use in your Etsy listings and something that can help you potentially get some more views by looking a little bit less expensive in the search results. And so our biggest takeaways for you, if you walk away from this presentation with nothing, is if you're getting no views, fix your designs and your mockups. If you get views but no sales, make sure you're building trust with your customers and checking your pricing and adding value with your designs. And just remember that every seller faces these problems. Everyone's going to go through dips in their business. It's not a linear line, unfortunately. But when you're stuck, just keep adjusting, keep testing, and you will do great. And then me and Meg actually put together a quick little download for you guys that we're going to upload in the Sellers Club. So if you go to the place to ask Meg questions and ask me questions, we'll post the link there. And so you can get a free little download to help you understand some of this just a little bit more in depth.
Definitely, and we've done the work to create a cheat sheet as well with all the frameworks of what we've talked about, which is also available in the Sellers Club. But if you want to learn more, make sure you check out these lovely ladies' channels as well. They deep dive a lot into it, so there's plenty of resources out there for you. But one thing that I do want to say is that with pricing in particular, there's a lot of people who spend time overpricing, underpricing, trying to figure out what that is, and it does take sometimes it can take a lot of time and research to figure out. But luckily, We've just created a brand new tool that does all of that work for you, and you're about to check it out for the first time right now. Take a look.